Hey fam, you might not want to hear this, but I bet you have trouble saying no to people or setting boundaries in your life, and you might even be codependent. Well, get ready to level up your life because we're going to talk all about codependency, how I've freed my life from its deathly clutches, and if you're struggling with this, how you can set yourself free as well. I'm John, this is A Fake Cactus, and welcome back to the channel where we discuss my best tips and tools to help empower you to live your best life and have fun doing it. Over the next few minutes, you're going to learn 1, what codependency is, 2, what it looked like in my life and how it really hurt my relationships, and 3, how to overcome codependency once and for all. And hey, nice job! By watching this video, you're improving your life by working on your mental health and relationship pillars, so stick around to the end to see how many experience points you gained. Alright, so what is codependency? Real quick, let's go over the definition, the common signs, a few real-life examples, and then a book recommendation that can teach you much more. Codependency can be a confusing term because it can look very different for different people, but I really like the Wikipedia definition, which states codependency involves an imbalanced relationship where one person enables another person's addiction, poor mental health, or irresponsibility. Typically, this includes high self-sacrifice, a focus on others' needs, suppression of one's emotion, and attempts to fix or control other people's problems. If you're wondering if you or someone in your life is codependent, then here are some other common signs to look out for. Low self-esteem, poor or non-existent boundaries with others, people-pleasing, or valuing the approval of others more than you value yourself, denial of your own need, perfectionism, and oh boy, I'm still working on this one. Difficulty communicating in a relationship, excusing bad or abusive behavior by others, a strong urge to save and problem solve for others, having an exaggerated sense of responsibility for the actions of others, and finally, controlling, possessive, or manipulative behavior. And if you feel personally attacked from this, don't worry, I do too. Codependency isn't officially recognized as a personality disorder or a mental illness, but it's certainly a condition that can lead to or worsen problems like anxiety or depression. And it's possible for both partners in a relationship to be codependent and end up enabling each other's bad habits. So here are 3 examples of codependent relationship. First, a person whose spouse has an addiction, like they're an alcoholic, and that person makes excuses for their spouse's abusive behavior and constantly tries to fix them. Second, a person who ignores red flags in their relationship, disregards their own needs, and seeks to make their partner happy over everything else. And that one was me! Yay! And third, a person who seeks to control aspects of another person's life and one who will only be happy if things turn out exactly how they want them. So what causes codependency? That's right, you guessed it. Childhood trauma. The gift that just keeps on giving. For example, if as a child you were neglected in some way, you may have built a belief that your needs just aren't that important, leading to low self-esteem, poor boundaries, and you becoming sort of like a pseudo parent for yourself or your siblings. Trauma like this or other unhealthy relationship habits can easily plant the seeds of codependency at an early age. My favorite book about codependency, and yes, I have one, which was recommended by my therapist, is Codependent No More: How to Stop Controlling Others and Start Caring for Yourself by Melody Beattie. In the book, she talks about the emergence of codependency as a mental health topic, as well as relatable life stories and guidance for overcoming codependency. This book seriously opened my eyes to my codependency and dramatically changed my life, but let me tell you how I got there. Damn, where do I start? Well, my parents divorced when I was very young, which led me to take on a mediator role, and from there I learned that I could disregard my own needs to make others happy, which made me feel good. Fast forward to college, I got into an unhealthy relationship which really cemented my codependency. My partner would get upset with me a lot, and I learned that once again, I could avoid conflict entirely by simply forgetting about my own needs and giving on absolutely everything. What was so funny is I actually thought I was being a great boyfriend by compromising so much and putting her needs above mine. But in reality, I was not doing the relationship any favors. I started feeling really unhappy, uncomfortable, and just not satisfied, but at the time I really didn't know why. And because I put the relationship above everything else, I stopped hanging out with my best friends, I didn't get much quality time with my family, and I had lots and lots of fights with my partner. I got out of that relationship, but since I was still not fully aware of my codependency back then, I didn't work on myself. And surprise, surprise, the same problems continued over to my next relationship. It took me several more years before I learned what codependency was. And now, after plenty of therapy, I'm proud to say that I'm mostly recovered. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to thank my family, my therapist, and of course my dog Bobo. And look, I'm telling you my story so that you can see what codependency looks like in another person's life, how it can form at an early age, get reinforced through unhealthy relationship, and ultimately get uncovered and dealt with. But I also share my story to let you know that you're not alone. If you prioritize others' needs above your own, or if you feel like your happiness is tied to how other people feel, or if you just feel like you haven't been appreciated for all that you do in your relationships, again, you are not alone. There are many of us working on bettering ourselves every day, and I believe in you. I know without a doubt that you can overcome this, and you're gonna love this next part, which is all about teaching you how to destroy codependency once and for all. But first, if you found this helpful so far and you want to learn more about self-improvement, productivity, and mental health tips, subscribe so you don't miss my other videos. And oh, I heard that people who hit the bell to get notifications of when my videos go live are some of the most badass, independent, strong people you'll ever meet. Also, I have a Discord server where you can meet other people interested in living their best lives and achieving their dreams. The first 1,000 people who join using the link in the description below will be given the special role of champion, which will give them exclusive access to perks like a private channel to chat with other champions and myself. But anyways, let's jump into the final point. If you've made it this far, you probably feel like you're codependent, or maybe someone you know is, and you want to help them with that. Well then, here are the 6 steps that I recommend you take to overcome and eliminate toxic codependency from your life entirely. Step 1, learn more about codependency. If you like to read articles, then Google codependency and you'll get a ton of great hits like articles by WebMD, Healthline, and therapy websites. There's also a site called CODA, which stands for Codependent Anonymous, and they have some good resources too. I particularly like their list of 12 promises, which are empowering new beliefs about yourself, like, I no longer need to rely solely on others to provide my sense of worth. I personally don't jive with CODA's religious language and steps, but if that's for you, have at it. If you like reading books, then here are 2 recommendations for you. First, Codependent No More by Melody Beattie, which I already mentioned. And second, The Language of Letting Go, which is also by Melody Beattie. The second book contains 1 short passage for each day, so it's really manageable to read, and it covers everything from being aware of your codependency to practicing healthy communication to prioritizing your needs. The passages are seriously mind-blowing at times, and I'm still reading this book. And finally, if you like watching videos, here are 2 YouTube channels that I love to watch to learn what healthy relationships look like. First, Psych2Go is a fantastic channel that has videos on codependency, healthy relationships, and everything else related to mental health and psychology. And second, Psychology in Seattle, which is a channel run by therapist Dr. Kirk Honda. And he reacts to shows like 90 Day Fiancé and comments on how couples can do better in their communication and cooperation. Spoiler alert, you'll learn that healthy relationships involve both partners trusting themselves and each other, both feeling secure in their self-worth, and lots of communication and compromise. Step 2, be self-aware of your codependence. Now that you know a bit more about this topic, start seeing if you can recognize any of the common signs in yourself or others. The goal is not to diagnose anybody, but just start becoming more aware of your subconscious habits when it comes to relationships and communication. You might want to ask yourself a few questions like, do you have trouble saying no to others? Do you ignore your feelings to make others happier? And do you set healthy boundaries with your friends and family? In my humble opinion, you have not been put on this planet to bend over backwards caring for everyone else in your life. So after getting more information and becoming aware of your tendencies, start to practice focusing more on what you can control in your life, which is only yourself. Think of it this way. If your happiness was dependent on a random stranger's happiness, doesn't that sound insanely stressful? Like, you don't know if the next day they're gonna wake up and be angry at life and then you'll have to be angry. It's really no different when you base your happiness solely on your family or your partner. And here's something that revolutionized the way that I think about letting go and focusing on what I can control in my relationships. And you're gonna wanna sit down for this one. And if you're already sitting, I recommend standing up and then sitting down to get a pretty similar effect. Okay, great. Here it is. You are 100% responsible for your own happiness. Okay, I think you follow me, but now get ready for the shocker. You are 0% responsible for anybody else's happiness. Yes, that means 0% responsible for your parents' happiness, 0% responsible for your siblings' happiness, and 0% responsible for your partner's happiness. Okay, there's one exception. Parents with dependent children are very responsible for their safety and well-being, but after they grow up, even they are 0% responsible. This blew my mind when I first realized it. And now this isn't to say you are cold and heartless, because there's another part to this. You are 50% responsible for playing a role in all of your relationships. So that means you are 50% responsible for being a good partner, a good child, a good friend, and a good coworker. And the other person owes the relationship the other 50%. So it comes together to fill up to 100. So for your partner, again, you are 0% responsible for their happiness, but 50% responsible in being a loving, respectful, and kind partner. Ideally, so you can create space for and support them in being happy. But if you do your part and they decide to be unhappy, you can't do anything about that because you can't control their feelings or any part of them. And it's natural and healthy for this 50% responsibility to fluctuate. So if you're super busy one month, you might give 30% to the relationship and the other person steps up to fill the rest. And maybe next month, you give 60%. However, when this gets out of balance to a high amount or for a long time, that's when a relationship is in danger of falling apart. So in sum, to learn to start letting go of what you can't control, acknowledge what you're responsible for. You are 100% responsible for your own happiness, 0% responsible for anyone else's happiness, and 50% responsible for being a good friend, partner, and family member. With this new knowledge and empowerment, you can start defining your relationships properly, which leads me to the next step. Step 4, practice valuing yourself. And here are 3 ways you can start. Spend time with people who treat you right. Get rid of toxic relationships from your life. Do things that you love and carve out time to take care of your physical and mental health. Also, catch yourself when you're overly negative with your self-talk and counter that with positive, empowering language. Instead of, I ruined it again, I suck. Try this. Hey, I'm trying my best and that's great. And look, this isn't about fake positive thinking. It's about realizing the truth that you are a valuable, amazing person and deserve to be treated well. Another thing I recommend is to identify your own needs so you can make sure they're getting filled. I struggled with this so much that I actually created a Google sheet that lists everything that I want and need in my own life and in my relationship with my partner. But if you need help getting started, ask yourself some initial questions like, do you want to be in a relationship? If so, what do you want that relationship to look like? What's your dream job? Where do you want to live? What are your hobbies? Who do you want to spend less time or more time with? And what's the best way to take care of your health? Step 5, start setting healthy boundaries. Oh, boundaries, how I love you so. I wrote a beautiful haiku with a friend once regarding this topic, and it went as follows. Boundaries, boundar. Boundaries, boundaries. 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 So succinct, so perfect. So how do you set healthy boundaries? First, start checking in with your feeling. Notice when you feel hurt, offended, or stressed out. It might be hard for you to identify at first, but notice when you feel weird or off about an interaction. These are signs that someone may be crossing one of your boundaries. Then ask yourself, what do you want to do in this situation? Maybe it's to be respected or appreciated. Or maybe you'd rather spend time on your favorite hobby instead of helping this person. You may have never asked yourself what you truly want in each situation like this, but you should start doing it all the time. Then as new situations arise, start voicing what you want to others. So if your friend shares all of their problems with you on a daily basis so that you can fix them, you could be like, hey, Bobo, I'm your friend, and of course, I want to support you, But we've talked about your problems for a while now, and I'd love to talk about something different, or let's do an activity together. Through your new boundaries, you'll be able to start respecting yourself, doing more of what you want, and offering reasonable, healthy support to those in your life. And finally, step 6, consider going to therapy. I couldn't talk about codependency without mentioning one of my favorite topics, therapy. If you struggle with codependency or any mental health or relationship issue, I highly recommend that you consider therapy. I'm sure you go to the doctor or dentist for your physical health, and even if it's preventative care, well, a therapist is the same thing, but for your mental health or your stress management. And oof, this stuff is like cheat codes for life. It's insane. Got something you're stressed out about? Ask your therapist. Or maybe one of your relationships is struggling and you just don't know what to do? Ask your therapist. Oh, or maybe you aren't feeling satisfied in life for some reason. Well, check out my other videos because those could help with that. But more importantly, ask your therapist. A therapist can help identify your specific codependency issues and help develop a plan for overcoming. Therapy can sometimes be a little bit of a taboo or looked down upon topic, but I really think we need to just destroy that stigma. I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for years now, and I love it, and I'm definitely going to continue it because I can ask my therapist about like the dumbest things and just know that I'm having like an expert give advice on that. It feels so good. So shout out to my therapist for literally changing my life by working with me on this. Thank you so much. So now you know what codependency is, how it negatively impacted my life, and the 6 steps you can take to overcome it. But let's take a step back to remember why you watched this video. You're probably concerned that you might be codependent or someone you know is codependent. In which case, this is just one perspective and just one method that worked really well for me. So remember, start small. Like just steps number 1 and number 2 are more than enough. As long as you're making an effort to become more self-aware of your past trauma and how it affects your current behaviors and relationships, then you're making an amazing step in the right direction. I had moments when I was like, whoa, I keep saying yes to things that I don't want to do. Or, oh my God, I've tied my happiness to the happiness of others. And after these aha moments, the rest just started falling into place naturally, and it was game changing. And you don't need to fix everything at once, and some issues just take time. So do whatever works for you. It might be journaling, meditating, self-reflecting, opening up to a good friend, or seeing a therapist. Don't sweat the details. Make gradual progress, celebrate your victories, and learn to enjoy the journey. And congrats on watching until the end because you gained experience points for your mental health and relationship pillars. So let's see how much you got. Holy you are incredible. Remember, whether you know it or not, you are extraordinarily unique. You are profoundly loved, and you are going to shake the very foundations of this world with your greatness. I'm John, you've just leveled up, and I'll see you in the next one.